to the skin on the backs of your hands. So library people, you're back with us. Allow the awareness to move to the skin on the backs of your hands. Feel all the space between the tips of your fingers, the backs of your hands, and the palms of your hands. Feel your hands from the inside. Let's heel toe those feet back to one another, shoulders back, hands on the hips. Let's again half the elbow weight. Let's pull the elbows in, let's reach with the elbows. Let's keep the lift in the collarbones. We're gonna bend our knees a little bit. We're gonna lift up that right heel. Put yourself on a tightrope, on the, what do you call those, mats. And then lift the back of the knee. And maybe this is enough. Or maybe you can take your right hand and push your right hand into your quad, and really lengthen your quad away from your hip flexor and pull the hamstring back into the pelvis. And then maybe you can do some shin lifts without your quad moving. Your hand is pushing down and moving the quad towards the kneecap. You're thinking about hands lifting your hamstring up and pulling your hamstring towards your booty. And then you're going to straighten to hold. And then you're going to bend, you're going to bring your hands onto your hips, your elbows back, and you're going to kind of teeter-totter. You're going to start to bring your chest down as you start to take that right leg back. Okay, so just nice and smooth. Lift that right quad up, lift your elbows up. With a 90-degree angle leg, start to float that right foot to the floor without rotation, without moving the hips left or right. Think about having those blocks on either side of your pelvis. Lift those elbows. It's a little harder than the normal way. Just challenge yourself and then bend your knee and sweep it back through. Beautiful. And then put that foot on the floor. Elbows back, shoulders back, stand up nice and tall. Lift up the left heel. And then move the back of the leg. And then maybe this is enough. Maybe that's good balance for you. Maybe you bring your toes down and up and down and up and down and up. Or maybe you put your hand on your quad without changing your neck and your shoulders. And then you use your hand to push down. And then you lift up into that hand. You use your hand to lengthen your quad. And you see you get that shin lift action of not moving the thigh. Try not to sway the hips left or right by pulling both femurs in and engaging the trochanter. Straighten to hold. You got this. And then bend the knee. Think about the quad, bringing back, bring the elbows back towards one another to help support it. And see if you can start to lift that left leg up and back, coming to Virabhadrasana 3. Warrior 3. Think of everything you learned about those outer thighs, squeezing in, inner thighs dropping. Fix your gaze on one point. Bend the knee, move at the back of the leg to sweep it through. Bring that foot onto the floor. Knees and feet at hips distance apart, palms forward. Close your eyes. And just take some nice deep breaths. Knees and feet together, hands on the hips, elbows pull back, bend your knees, take that right foot behind you. Now think of the right quad and the right belly as a stick, and we don't want to bend in the middle of that stick at the hip flexors. So as much as that right thigh lifts up, the chest is going to come down. You're going to keep yourself on that tightrope, visualizing of that mat. Now when you come all the way down to a place that you can hold, see if you can straighten one or both legs without straightening all the way. Whenever I say straight, I don't mean totally straight. Right hip roots, femurs pull in, Visualize the bath mat. Think of yourself on a tightrope. Bend both knees, move the back of the hamstring. Don't lose those elbows, pack their gear, right? Wrists, elbows, fingers. Bring that right leg around. See if you can straighten it. And release, beautiful. Bro, what a balance, you guys. Pick up that left heel. Take that left heel back. Again, elbows back as far as you can. Pull in, think outriggers, reach into them. And then as much as the thigh lifts, the chest comes down. We're not a boomerang, you don't want to bend in the middle of the hip flexor. Keep those hips level, like there's a stick in those hips, and both hips are evenly pushing into that stick. Then once you come to a place where it's kind of even, you can hang out, see if you can straighten-ish your legs while staying on a tightrope. Visualize blocks on the outsides of your thighs, and you don't want to check your hips into those blocks. Just like when we're doing it on the floor and tabletop. And then bend both knees because it's easier. Think about moving at the joints. Think of the heel, think of the ankle, think of the knee, think of the hip. Straighten and release. Take a little break. So good for our hearts. Gets our hearts going, right? Flushes them. Gets rid of any blockages. It's amazing for our thyroid. Again, flushing it. Breathe into it. Slow down your heart rate by slowing down your breath. And then when you're ready, third time lucky, bring those feet together, hands on the hips. If you want to make it more challenging, you could have your arms straight out with your ears. You could grab onto your elbows, which is a nice option. Some of us can do reverse namaskara, or we can grab our elbows behind the back of the skull. Okay, so if your right leg, you're doing right elbow. Just remember to swap the crossing. Bend your elbows, right? Bring that right foot back. Think of that chair here in your hip flexors, right? So keep the hip flexors level, and as you lift that right thigh up, right? The hamstring still roots down, you start to bring your chest down. And then once the shoulders, hips are level, you can straighten out your leg. You fix your gaze on one point, and just like in a down dog, you're lifting up the chest, you're lifting up the ribs, and you're lengthening the back ribs away from the pelvis. This is a great pose, what I'm doing right now. This is a great pose. Right? Do what you can do. Next thing you know, you're doing what you never thought you could. And then bend both knees, move at the back of the leg as we sweep it through. Right? Lift at the hamstring, lift at the knee, and then fire out through that heel, that inner heel. Beautiful. Release, find your breath. Our hands are energy centers. They're energy centers that touch the people we love, right? They touch the planet, they touch our food. So we want them to be full of good energy. Just focus on your hands. Send them some love. Be grateful for them. Other side. So grab the opposite elbow. If you're grabbing elbows, think about firing up the wrists, the fingers, the elbows. Bend your knees. I always find balance with the feet closer easier. Take your left foot back. Visualize a chair in your hip flexors and start to lift the quad as the hamstrings push back on the quads. Come to a place that's comfortable to hold and go straight or straight-ish, but keep your hips straight. Keep the hips and the shoulders level. No bulging on one side and shortening on the other. No twisting. Find those inner heels and lengthen. If you're a knee knocker, hold those feet apart. Give yourself space in the inner line of the leg. Keep breathing. And then bend both knees, move the back of the leg. Right? So front body, back body, opposition. Lift, 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 lift. Push that foot firmly into the floor and shoot through the heel. Bend and release. Gorgeous. Let those From here, we can come onto the floor through a squat. We can put blocks underneath our booty if we know that that's our best option. If you're at home and you've got a double door handle, use the double door handle and get yourself into it, right? So you go to the door, you grab both handles, and you just go to where you can go. But let's make sure the feet and the knees are going the same direction when we walk those feet away as far as is comfortable for us. Nice big inhale to lift and lengthen. Walk those hands forward, let the head hang, let the shoulders relax. Lift your toes if you like. Focus on your body from the inside. Focus on your breath. If you want more stretch into the upper back, you need it, then interlace your fingers, bring your hands to the back of the skull. Not pulling, just allowing the weight of the arms to gently increase that stretch. Lengthening the hip flexors away from the armpits. Very nice, Hazel. And then swapping the interlacing. If you're interlacing, again, checking in if you need more. Then you lift up the head as you pull down with the hands. And if you still want more, then you try and lift your butt up and get your elbows and your butt level. And you really think about lengthening that mid upper back. And that's magic. You should never feel our knees. And then let your butt come down, let your hands come down. Let's come onto our booties. And then let's come down onto our backs. So knees together, feet together, hands behind your thighs. Make a nice C. Come down one discomfort at a time. Walk your feet towards your seat. Bring those legs up. Let's take our thumbs behind the backs of the knees. Really pulling into the backs of the knees with the thumbs. Let's take our elbows wide and lift them up like coat hangers. Let's take our knees a little bit wider. Think about the kneecaps pushing onto the thumbs and the thumbs pushing back into those kneecaps. And then some of us are going to be able to do a shin lift and get our ankles over our knees without our thighs moving. Some of us are not going to get to that 90, and that's just fine. Think about all the things we learned about the legs and how they function. And if you can get your ankles literally right over your knees so that you can hang a painting off your shin, you can start to move your hands up towards your feet. But not if that causes your neck to go away from neutral. One of my favorite things to do is to grab my inner heels, because there's a strong tendency to shorten on those inner heels. Pull down on my inner heels and plug my heels into my hands, right? And sometimes you have to get super bendy to be able to get that connection. The beauty of this, putting it on our back, is we don't have to be super bendy to be able to get that. So literally, the heel fits into the palm of the hand, right? Our bodies are meant to fit. And then we lift our feet up and our hands pull down. And I want us to think about like lengthening, and I know it feels like a lot, but you can do it, moving the skin from your inner ankle towards your inner heel. And then moving from your inner heel towards your big toe mound. And then from big toe mound down your big toe. And then from big toe mound across to baby toe mound. From baby toe mound, it goes on the outside baby toe edge towards the outer heel, and then we pull the outer heel towards the outer ankle. And then the outer line of the leg draws back to outer knee, to outer trochanter. Outer trochanters to come to one another, which brings it the circle to the groins lengthen to inner knee, the inner knee lengthens to inner ankle. So that's that circle of energy. Inner legs drawing apart, outer legs squeezing in, lengthening the pubic bone away from the navel. So again, if we're lifting, if it's causing our neck to lift, we still have our hands behind the backs of the knees. Chuck one more pillow under your head, this one, Keith. So we never want wrinkles in the backs of the neck. Let's go 10 more breaths here. I should say we never want. Most of the time we don't want right? So first start with the creeper, right? With the big toe edge of the foot on the floor. Knees go a little bit wide, but not firm, right? Keep the soles of the feet engaged. And then we're going to cross the right leg over the left leg. We're going to take our feet as wide as we can comfortably and have the entire sole of the foot on the floor. Now, think about the hamstrings moving towards the butt. Think about the quads lengthening towards the knees. Keep the lengthening of the inner heel and allow your legs to come into a cross-legged position without losing the inner heel connection. If it's too much, you keep the soles of the feet on the floor. If it's still too much, do the creeper option because this is great too. So we're going to do this one, Keith, because this is so good for you. Just soles of the feet on the floor, knees a little bit wide. If you want to cross the ankles and have both feet on the floor, you can do that option. So this is an amazing back release. You walk the feet towards the edge of the mat to bring the knees closer to one another if we're looking for more. It's an amazing hamstring low back release. But in order to do this and keep the knees happy, you have to think outer knees squeezing in, inner knees dropping, inject my femurs, keep a neutral pelvis. And then some nice deep breaths here. We're not doing a super long goal today, just a couple more breaths. Get off the bus where you need to. And then keeping those feet nice and active, think outer knees winning as the outer knees lift the legs, the feet walk to one another. We're going to uncross. We're going to go back to creeper in the middle because that reclined creeper is just such good information for the body, right? So find that information. Keep that lengthening of the inner line of the foot. Cross. Find the lengthening of the inner line of the foot. Notice how it puts a boundary on your knees. Boundaries are good for not getting hurt. Walk your feet a little wider and let those knees come down without losing that seal on the big toe edge of the foot. And then beautiful breaths here. And this gets tight on people, right? And it's really hard to get people to be able to release there. If you don't feel it, it doesn't mean anything, but most people have a hard time getting into these things. Just go 5 more breaths here. And then when those 5 breaths are complete, keep your feet, outer knees win. They draw the knees to one another. We walk our feet to one another. We uncross. If you feel like that was a lot for your low back, your groins, or sort of that injector place where your hamstrings come into your butt, then hug. If you don't need to give yourself a hug or lymph remover, then just come right into Shavasana. Close your eyes. Be as still as you can be. Exhale to let those arms come down onto the floor. Start to bend your knees, walk your feet towards your seat. Exhale to roll off to the right. Nice inhale and arm strength to push yourself up, making your way into a comfortable seated position. Hands coming into Namaskara. Let's everybody end with a nice humming Om before we dedicate merit of our practice. Maybe use this class to be mindful that courage is not the absence of fear. It's being scared shitless and doing it anyway. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your practice. Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Thanks for coming. Nice work. Good girl, Kenny. So Saul went to school today, and he said to the teacher, when she said, "How are you?" He's like, "Good, but I'm pretty sure I had a long fever." A long fever because he hates going to school. So 1 week off, and he's figured out how to play hockey, right? Because they do this check-in at preschool. Do you know what I mean? He's like, "I have a long fever." Bye, everybody. If you're going to do the mentorship or any of the workshops, sign up, okay? Because it's filling up, which is great. Big love to everybody. She had her dream day. 2 walks. I don't know what to do with all this time without children during the day. In the morning, I talk to all the none, and I have to keep her until 10:30. I'm like, "Let's go for a walk. I got toddlers." She's like, "Yes." Best dog day ever. Oh, I have to turn this one off. So many cameras. Yeah. Because what, darling?